Hi Andre, this is Greg Weeks for Sprint 6. So first things first, we have load terrain going on here with all these parameters being passed in, just to show you that this is actually working. So still have terrain just as it was last week, unfortunately, because I don't have barycentric collisions working yet, or barycentric coordinates. But yeah, you can see that the collision is working. So now let's go down to the actual implementation. So I've created a terrain object. So let's take a look at that real quick. So terrain object along with our terrain and terrain object manager. There's also a terrain object manager attorney, which is just deleting it like all the other managers. But yeah, let's look at the difference between the terrain object and terrain. This should be called terrain model if we're going based off of the class that was in the graphics class, but yeah, terrain.cpp. So yeah, this is essentially just this init function here returns the actual model that's created based on the math and calculations from the graphics class. And the terrain object is pretty much just holding the model, the actual reference or point of the terrain, and then our graphics object. So in our constructor here, we're just passing all that information in, calling initialize on our new terrain, passing the texture data in. So yeah, from load terrain, let's take a look at the manager. So it's being managed just like any other asset right now. So we're taking in a terrain key and creating that, and then we're getting a texture that should have been loaded in previously. Cool. See, the file name is actually going to be the height map rather than the texture, and the texture is a separate thing, obviously. Yeah, so terrain object is being managed, and in our scene, we're actually holding a pointer to a terrain object, so every scene should have exactly one terrain object pointer. And now if we go over to scene demo, all we're doing is calling set terrain here. So set terrain, test terrain, which is initialized over here, and you saw previously everything works. So unfortunately, I couldn't get the iterator to work, so my collision terrain function isn't working 100%. So I had a few things set up. I've basically just got like this function in scene, and I started working on the actual commands, but I couldn't finish the commands because I'm just not familiar with how the custom iterator should have worked. And unfortunately, this like simple turning a terrain into an asset manager sort of ate up a lot of my time because it was having a lot of include loop errors again, so that was fun. Yeah, so this is the implementation that I have right now. So set terrain, you just pass in and you can load it. But yeah, as of right now, I don't have the iterator working. And just judging from word of mouth, I'm pretty sure that a lot of people had trouble with that, so I'm assuming that's going to be a big discussion in class. Yeah, that's about the extent of my work this week. And that's about it. I will see you in class.